Hello, I'm Scott Wipperman, the pastor here at First Presbyterian Church. And no matter who you are or where you are in your journey of faith, know that you're welcome here. We hope you enjoy today's service on this video, and we invite you to come join us for worship anytime that you would like, or join us in any of the other activities of the church. For more information about First Presbyterian Church, please visit our website at fpchelena.com or call us at 442-4775. God bless.
New Testament reading comes from the Gospel of Matthew. Whatever town or village you enter, Christ is speaking to the disciples here. Let me qualify that. Whatever town or village you enter, search for some worthy person there and stay at his house until you leave. As you enter the home, give it your greeting. And if the home is deserving, let your peace rest on it. And if it is not, let your peace return to you. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, shake the dust off your feet when you leave that home or town. I tell you the truth. It will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for that town. I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Be on your guard against men. They will hand you over to local councils and flog you in their synagogues. On my account, you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they do arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time, you will be given what to say, for it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will betray brother to death, and father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. All men will hate you because of me, but he who stands firm in the end will be saved. When you are persecuted in one place, flee to another. I'll tell you the truth. You will not finish going through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes. The word of the Lord. Well, how is your world map? Some people's world map has a little trouble. There was a survey that asked, name a country that borders the Pacific Ocean. This was an ask to Americans here. And got a country that borders the Pacific Ocean? Yeah, U.S., like California, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, Canada, Canada, Japan. Unfortunately, 60% of the respondents could not name a country that borders the Pacific Ocean. Now, I got one that's a little tougher for you. Of the 50 United States, which state is the southernmost, the northernmost, the westernmost, and the easternmost? We'll start with the southernmost. What's the southernmost state? West. Think west. Hawaii. Hawaii is the southernmost state. Now, if we come 51 states, Puerto Rico may take over this honor, but for right now, with just 50 states, it's Hawaii. Okay, what's the northernmost state? Okay, you got that one good. What's the westernmost state? Alaska. And what's the easternmost state? This is the trick question. It is also Alaska, because the Aleutian Islands trail over the international date line. So they become both the most westernmost and the easternmost there. But Scott Peck, in his book, A Road Less Traveled, wrote about our world maps. But he wasn't so much talking about geography. He was talking about the maps that we all have that we build as to how the world works. We all have these maps, and we've built them over our lifetime. And as we get new information, we incorporate that into our maps. And our maps get bigger and bigger. But our maps aren't always reflective of reality. And sometimes when we get a new piece of information, that doesn't really fit into our map, we're not overly pleased to receive that piece of information. We may do all sorts of gymnastics to try to make it look like this new fact, this new piece somehow fits into our map. We may kind of look at it from a 90 degrees through a mirror and see if we can't make it work right. Or we may just plain flat ignore it and just completely disregard it because it doesn't agree with our world map. And Scott Peck says the reason for this is the world map that we have is very personal to us. We took a lot of time and energy in building this map. It took years and years for it to come about. It's been with us. It's like a friend to us. And to lose our world map would almost be like the death of a friend, of a loved one. And so sometimes we're not open to the rewriting of our world map to conform to what is true with reality. Collectively, of humanity, we've done this a few times. When we came to the discovery that the earth wasn't at the center of the universe, that we actually revolved around the sun as opposed to the other way around, what did we do with Copernicus and with Galileo? Well, we killed one and we imprisoned the other. Okay. Sometimes we're not open to having our world map just shaken up and receiving new information. So we resist very much changing that map. Now, in our reading today, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and it's kind of like he's hanging out his shingle for a help wanted ad, for the job, for being one of his disciples, being one of his followers. And so he says, what is this job? Well, this is to go out and to proclaim the good news, to share with people this wonderful information that Christ has. But there are some conditions with this job. There are some dangerous conditions. You will be handed over to the authorities, both the Israel authorities and the Gentile authorities, and in their inner councils, they may flog you. And as you talk, you might be arrested. Oh, but don't worry, you'll have some words to say when you get arrested. So a little assurance there that comes along. Your message, this good news that you share, may lead family members to fight with one another. And as it says in the reading, they might actually kill one another. Father may kill son, brother to sister, and on and on and on. And furthermore, you yourself may be killed by one of these family members of your own. In addition, you will be hated because of me. And when you are persecuted, don't stand and fight. Run like the Dickens, okay? And if you're interested, just apply within, please. So how does this sound for an ad in the newspaper for a job? How many of you want this job? Yeah, it might not be the best marketing approach to wanting to be a disciple of Jesus or a follower of Christ. But this is what he tells the disciples. And part of this is because when we're proclaiming the good news, either through our words, or as St. Francis said, preach continually, but when necessary, use words. Because most of the preaching we should be doing is through our actions, people seeing how we live. So when we're proclaiming this good news through how we live or through the words that we say, well, we might be asking people to change their map, to change their world map. And some people will accept this good news and gladly update their world map to better reflect Christ's reality, the true reality, not this pseudo-reality that we call reality. And some people won't be so accepting of changing their map and shifting it to that. In the story today, as I was talking about in the children's sermon, Sarah's world map says that when I'm 90, I can't have kids. And so when God tells her that she will bear a son within a year, she doesn't believe it, and she laughs. Now, Abraham got this message a little earlier, about 4 chapters earlier in Genesis, and he also questioned this. He said, hey, I'm old. How am I going to father a child? So both of their world maps had to be changed, because God comes and says, I will make you the father of nations. And it took a little work for them to change their world map. But they did do it. They did come about and say something new. Because this was God's reality. Christ often asks us to look to His reality, to accept this good news that He brings to us as the real news, the real way things work, and to set aside what we think how the world works and put in how it does work. So as a disciple of Christ, maybe your job title is more map disruptor. Your job is to come in and to change people's world map to a map that greaterly conforms to this good news of love and forgiveness and mercy and justice that God is proclaiming. You might remember the 1987 movie, if I could talk here, the 1987 movie Wall Street. Michael Douglas plays Gordon Gekko in here, who is a financier on Wall Street. And he gives this a famous speech where he goes about greed is good. But this is Gordon Gekko's world map. Now, we're told in the movie that it wasn't based off of any one character. They formed the character of Gordon Gekko by looking at a lot of people, none of the least, which is Michael Milken. You might remember him. He was the junk bond king, and he made a killing on junk bonds until he went to prison for what he was doing. But when Jesus uses the G word, it's not greed, it's give. And Gordon Gekko's world map needed to be changed from greed, from hoarding, from deceiving others, into giving. But he wouldn't change his world map. And in the real life of Michael Milken, it eventually led him to prison because he wouldn't change his world map. So some people will hate you for trying to change their map, for trying to bring this good news. And Jesus is warning us, be ready for that. Be prepared. But don't worry. Because it is the good news that you're proclaiming. It is the truth that you're upholding. God is with you. His words will be there for you in your mouth when you need them. You don't have to think them up in your head. The Spirit will provide them for you. So go out and proclaim this good news. And don't look at your job as a map disruptor. But your job as a follower of Christ is that of a map enhancer. You're trying to make people's maps, their world maps, better. To match reality, Christ's reality. A reality of leading by serving all. A reality not of scarcity, but of plenty. A reality of God that loves you and pours love down upon you, and there's no reason to try to hoard that love because it's an inexhausting supply of love that God pours down upon us. And whenever we give some of it away, there's always more there that we have to take. A reality of a Christ and a God who wants the best for us and for everybody else. If you look at Christ's miracles throughout the Bible, God is releasing people from the bonds of this creation to live to the freedom of what He created them for. When He grants them sight or makes their limbs work or gives hearing back. This is the reality. This is the good news of Christ's forgiveness, of Christ's desire for us, of the fact that we belong. Because what does he do in all these miracles? He takes those people that have been estranged from society, that have put aside as an other, as an unworking, as an unclean person often, and says, no, you belong. You're one of mine. You're one of the sheep of my flock. Come, enjoy my pasture. So don't be surprised if there is initial negative reaction to your good news. Share it, because you are a map enhancer. You might have remembered from last week when Ben Mathis, if you were here, was talking. Ben Mathis is a missionary. And he was talking about a time that an American surgeon, a neurosurgeon, was on a mission trip to do medical work in Africa. And he came across a boy who had a tumor on his spine. And if this tumor wasn't removed, the boy would eventually be crippled. And so they were doing surgery in relatively primitive conditions, and everything was going well. He was getting this cyst, this tumor, off of this boy's spine, but the boy was bleeding because of surgery, and they needed blood. And unfortunately, the people in this tribe, when he went out and asked them, it is saying, I need A positive blood. And everybody kind of backed off and ran away, even the boy's mother, because their world map had a misconception about what it meant to give blood. The mother was afraid that if she gave blood and the boy died, that she would then too die. Other people had other fears about giving blood. But this surgeon had been given a big pile of bubble gum before his trip to Africa. And so after no one would come and give blood, he went out there and said, bubble gum for blood. And one man came forward and grabbed some handfuls of bubble gum out of the bucket and gave blood. And this saved the boy's life. And this boy grew up well and healthy and plays soccer and everything today. And so with a piece of bubble gum, Ben said, God used a piece of bubble gum to save a boy's life. So what do you think God can do with you if he can do that with a piece of bubble gum? And similarly, a piece of bubble gum changed some people's world map, that they could give blood. And if a piece of bubble gum can change somebody's world map, just think what you can do in enhancing someone's world map. So go out there and share the good news through your words and through the way that you live. Preach always, and when necessary, use words. Amen.